Right now, your brain is doing something it was never supposed to stop doing. You are lying in bed, or sitting at your desk, or staring out a window, and your mind will not be quiet. It replays a conversation from 3 days ago. It rehearses tomorrow's meeting 17 different ways. It asks questions that have no answers. And no matter how hard you try to shut it off, it keeps going, keeps spinning, keeps thinking. You probably think this is a flaw, a modern problem, something caused by screens or stress, or a world moving too fast. But the real answer is far stranger. Your overthinking is not a glitch. It is not a symptom of anxiety. It is not something that needs to be fixed. It is one of the oldest, most powerful survival tools your species ever evolved. And right now, in the year you were born, in the century you are living in, it has no predator left to fight. Let that sit for a moment. Your brain is running a program written 2 million years ago, and you are trying to use it in a world it was never designed for. Here is where it starts. Imagine you are not you. Not yet. You are your ancestor. A small-brained, soft-bodied primate living on the open African savanna approximately 1.8 million years ago. You have no walls, no locks, no laws. Every shadow in the grass could be a leopard. Every stranger from a different group could mean violence. Every rustle in the dark could be the last sound you ever hear. In that world, the brain that survived was not the calm brain. It was not the relaxed brain. It was not the brain that said, "I'm sure it's fine." The brain that survived was the one that never stopped asking, "What if?" Psychologists call this negativity bias. It is the tendency of your brain to weight threats more heavily than rewards, to remember the snake in the grass more vividly than the fruit on the tree, to replay danger over and over until every detail is locked in, because the brain that forgot the danger died. The brain that kept thinking about it lived. Dr. Rick Hanson, a neuropsychologist and author of Hardwiring Happiness, describes the human brain as being like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. Bad things stick. Good things slide off. And this is not a metaphor. It is a literal description of how your neural architecture was built. Your brain physically devotes more processing power to threats than to rewards. The amygdala, the small almond-shaped cluster of neurons deep in your brain, responds faster to a fearful face than a happy one. It reacts to a sudden sound before your conscious mind even registers there was a sound. It is always on, always scanning, always asking, "Is this safe?" And it was that way long before you were born. Now here is where it gets interesting. Think about what overthinking actually is. Stripped down to its simplest form, it is your brain running simulations, future simulations, worst-case simulations, replaying past events to extract every possible lesson, building mental models of people, what they think of you, what they might do, how they might react, and then running those models forward through dozens of imagined futures. That is extraordinary. That is not weakness. That is your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do. Anthropologists believe that one of the great cognitive leaps in human evolution was the development of what researchers call mental time travel. The ability to project your consciousness forward and backward in time. To learn not just from what happened, but from what could happen. To plan, to prepare, to simulate. Dr. Thomas Suddendorf, an evolutionary psychologist at the University of Queensland, has spent decades studying this capacity. He argues that mental time travel, the same mechanism that powers your overthinking, is one of the defining features of the human mind. It is what separates your cognition from nearly every other animal on the planet. A crow can solve a puzzle. A chimpanzee can use a tool. But almost no other creature can sit quietly and run a detailed simulation of next Tuesday and how it might go wrong. You can, you do, constantly. The problem is not the simulation. The problem is the volume control. On the savannah, your ancestors ran these simulations in short, intense bursts. A threat appeared. The brain fired up. Every possible scenario was processed. A decision was made. Run, fight, hide, negotiate. And then the threat resolved. The predator left. The stranger showed his open palms. The storm passed, and the brain went quiet. There was a clear endpoint, a resolution. The body knew when the threat was over because the environment told it so. The grass stopped moving. The silence returned. The group was safe. Your brain is still waiting for that signal, and it never comes, because the threats you face now have no resolution. Your career anxiety does not end when you outrun a lion. Your fear of being judged does not resolve when the stranger shows his palms. Your worry about money, your health, your relationships, these are slow, invisible, chronic stressors that stretch across months and years. They have no physical endpoint, no grass going still, no silence returning. So your brain keeps running the simulation, keeps looping, keeps thinking. This is what neuroscientists call the default mode network. And it is one of the most important and most misunderstood systems in your brain. When you are not focused on a specific task, your brain does not go quiet. It activates a different network entirely. A vast, complex, deeply connected web of regions that spans your prefrontal cortex, your posterior cingulate cortex, and your medial temporal lobe. Together, these regions do one thing above all others. They think about you, about other people, about the past, about the future. The default mode network is, in a very real sense, the physical home of your overthinking. Dr. Marcus Reichel at Washington University first mapped this network in 2001, and what he found shocked researchers. The brain was not resting when it was not doing a task. It was doing something else, something deeply active and metabolically expensive. It was running the same social simulations, the same self-referential thought loops, the same mental time travel that evolution had been building for 2 million years. Your brain's idle state is not silence. It is overthinking. Now consider this. Researchers studying hunter-gatherer societies, groups whose way of life most closely mirrors your ancestors, consistently find that they do not report the kind of chronic, low-grade rumination that defines modern mental experience. They worry, certainly, but their worries are concrete, immediate, and resolvable. Where is the food? Is the water safe? Will this alliance hold? These are not the same as, am I living my life correctly? Does that person secretly dislike me? What if I made the wrong choice 3 years ago? Abstract worry? Worry without an object you can touch or a threat you can see is a product of a particular kind of mind. Your kind. The kind that built language and civilization and the ability to imagine things that do not exist yet. The same cognitive expansion that gave you philosophy and art and the ability to read these words also handed you an engine for suffering that has no off switch. You are, in a very specific sense, too smart to be calm. Here is the part that most people never hear. The solution your culture offers you, clear your mind, stop thinking, find peace, is not just difficult. It is biologically backwards. You are not a broken meditator. You are not failing at stillness. You are a human brain doing exactly what 2 million years of selection pressure designed it to do. Telling your default mode network to stop is like telling your heart to take a break. The ancient Stoics understood something close to this. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his private journal nearly 2,000 years ago, returned again and again to the same theme. You cannot control what the mind produces. You can only choose what you do with it. He did not try to stop the thoughts. He trained himself to watch them, name them, and refuse to be ruled by them. That is not the same as silence. It is something more useful than silence, and modern neuroscience has quietly arrived at the same place. Dr. Judson Brewer at Brown University has spent years studying the neural mechanics of rumination, the specific loop of repetitive, anxious thinking that most people call overthinking. What he found is that the loop is not driven by the content of the thoughts. It is driven by something much older. It is driven by uncertainty. The brain detects an unresolved question, one with no clear answer, no physical resolution, no savanna grass going still, and it keeps returning to it, not because it believes it can solve it, but because unresolved threats are the most dangerous kind, and evolution never taught the brain to let them go. The loop is not about the thing you are worried about. The loop is about the fact that the danger is not yet resolved, which means the path out is not through the content of your thoughts. It is through your relationship with uncertainty itself. Think about the last time you truly could not stop thinking about something. A decision you had not made, a conversation that had not happened yet, a situation whose outcome you could not control. The thinking did not help you resolve it, it just kept the alarm bells ringing so that you would not forget, so that you would remain alert, so that, if this were a savanna and that uncertainty were a predator, you would not lower your guard and die. Your ancestors who lowered their guard are not your ancestors. The ones who made it, the ones whose DNA is sitting inside your skull right now, were the ones who kept thinking, who kept scanning, who never fully relaxed until the threat was named and neutralized. You inherited their vigilance. And tonight, when you lie in bed and your mind begins its loop, replaying the meeting, rehearsing the conversation, asking every unanswerable question, you are not broken. You are exactly what survival required. The question is not how to stop the thinking. The question is what you choose to do while it runs. Your ancestors could not stop thinking either. They just had predators worthy of the effort.